listening to Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
What? Thank you.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. And yes, I know I'm still using that even though I'm in Indiana right now. So aloha from Indiana. And it is Friday, September 6, 2019. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. We have a lot to talk about today. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And before we get into the news here, I have some good news and I have some bad news. And the good news is Claire and I have found a place that we think we're going to be able to rent. And the bad news is it's not available till October 1st. And I'm just hoping we're not going to wear our welcome out here. So anyway, that's the latest on our expedition from Hawaii to Indiana. And I know I'm in Indiana now because when I wear this T-shirt, I survived the Hawaii ballistic missile. When I wear it in Hawaii, everybody laughs and they know what it means. And here in Indiana, I'm getting all these strange looks like, what? So anyway, starting right now and going to happen sometime in the next hour, India is attempting a soft moon landing at the lunar South Pole. They're going to be broadcasting it live. And if they succeed, they'll be the fourth nation to soft land on the moon. And the first nation to get down to that South Pole. And there's a lot of interest in the moon's South Pole because there is a series of craters down there into which the sun never shines. So it's just intensely cold in there, and a previous Indian space probe detected water ice. And so the idea is if in fact there is a copious amount of water ice down there at the South Pole, that could form the basis for a permanent lunar station. And the issue of water on the moon has sort of gone back and forth over the years. Post-Apollo, NASA insisted the moon was totally anhydrous. No water at all. And it turned out years later, they had actually detected water trapped in the lunar regolith, but they assumed it was a laboratory contaminant. We all know what assume means. So good luck to the people in India. And I'll be keeping a look at that story during our commercial breaks here. I hope they have more luck than the Israelis did. Turning back to this country, of course, Hurricane Dorian has made U.S. landfall in North Carolina's Outer Banks. It's a Category 1 storm. It's still very dangerous. Apparently, they're concerned that a lot of people are still trapped on Ocracoke Island. And so it was a nasty storm, no ways about it. The Bahamas are saying their final death toll is going to be staggering. Thousands are still missing after this Category 5, 225 mile per hour storm. I saw an article where somebody came on out and said, well, you know, I pinged a whole bunch of Bahamian IPs and they seem to be there, so it's really not that big a deal. Well, you know, wires flop around in the wind, and just because the IP is coming back at you doesn't necessarily mean anybody's there to be looking at it. So we'll just, see what's coming on out of there. Interesting little story. Apparently, this guy, Jason Sawyer, and his wife were watching a live camera feed of Hurricane Dorian lashing North Carolina's Emerald, where they have a home. The connection went offline. So the man used his smartphone to call up his Ring doorbell camera. This is a doorbell with a built-in camera, so either in your home or when you're away, you can see who's knocking at the door. And what he saw knocking at the door of his home was a tornado. And so unfortunately, he has lost his home, and I just hope he's got good homeowners insurance. Okay, a lot of people are still talking about this CNN climate town hall Sean Hannity did this wonderful little monologue about it. It just went on for hour after hour after hour with all of the Democratic presidential candidates trying to outdo each other in terms of scare tactics and doom and what we're going to do to save the planet. And Sean Hannity pretty much nailed what's going on. He says, this is not about clean air and clean water and saving the earth. This is all about selling you on the idea of the need for complete government control over absolutely every aspect of your life, what you're going to eat, what straws you're going to use. The Democrats were out there basically saying, we have to ban everything. They have to ban plastic straws, factory farming, hamburgers, incandescent light bulbs. There will be pain. Little embarrassment, though. I don't know anybody who's still using incandescent light bulbs. In fact, most people I know have already gone over from CFCs to LEDs. At our place in Oahu, we were all LED everywhere. And not because I'm a liberal Democrat. I just didn't want to pay the electric bill on that whole thing. Now, it's an interesting story about those straws because they're trying to ban them and get them replaced with paper straws in order to reduce the carbon footprint on the planet. And the stores that are already putting out the paper straws, they hand you two because before you get to the end of your drink, the paper will soften and the straw will collapse and you have to switch to the second one. So there's a little bit of waste there. But here's the real irony. The plastic used in the plastic straws is recyclable. It can be remelted, reprocessed, used to make other things. The paper straws are not recyclable. They have to be trashed and burned. Ooh, more carbon in the air. So it's another classic case of the Democrats out there just throwing out these ideas without really knowing what they're talking about here. And apparently Buttigieg was out there saying, you know, we've got to get rid of straws, we've got to get rid of meat. And photos immediately surfaced of him from just a few months ago, where he's chowing down on a big steak and using plastic straws here. Elizabeth Warren, who seems to be the queen of the doomsday cult these days, is out there insisting we only have 11 years left. We only have 11, maybe we have 11 years left to save the planet from you icky poo human beings here. So it was, for CNN, a disaster. The ratings were just right there in the basement. People just didn't tune in. I think they're getting burned out on all the Democratic hysterics. And as a matter of fact, when they panned the audience in the CNN studio, some of the people were already asleep. So must be one of those audiences where they go on out and say, look, you're going to be an audience, you know, we'll feed you. And because I certainly wouldn't have gone on in there. But Tucker Carlson described CNN's climate change town hall as an act of wanton cruelty. But for those of you who actually were watching from home, there were a few light moments, mostly in the commercials. And I don't know who at CNN thought this was going to be a good media buy, but they had clients like Golden Corral's Juicy Endless Sirloin, you know, in the middle of this screed against cows and meat. So that was a little bit embarrassing. Now, let's get serious about climate change. First of all, climate has always changed. There are cyclical changes in climate over the past 10,000 years. And obviously, prior to the industrial age, the changes in climates were not being caused by humans. Temperature increases in the past were not caused by humans because industrialization did not happen until the 17th century. Now, contrary to the propaganda that you're hearing from the Democrats, the Arctic and the Antarctic are doing just fine. 10,000-year Holocene paleoclimatology records reveal that both the Arctic and Antarctic are in some of their healthiest states. The only better period for the poles was the 17th century during the Little Ice Age, when the ice mass levels were higher. And contrary to the scare tactics that we were seeing from Al Gore and his ilk, polar bears and other species are not dying. They're doing very, very well. Their population numbers are actually increasing. And as a matter of fact, the Canadian government considered increasing the polar bear killing quotas because the increasing number of polar bears posed a threat to the Inuit communities living in the Nunavut area. So if you've ever wanted a polar bear rug, now's the time to do it. Again, it's all lies. Now, carbon dioxide is not a temperature control knob. That's what they were trying to sell you. We can blame carbon dioxide on humans. We'll link catastrophic climate change to carbon dioxide, and will guilt the people out of their money and their obedience. But all of this talk about anthropogenic CO2 emissions, there was no empirical proof to support the claim. The only way to test it would be to wait and see if the assumptions came true. And as it turned out, they didn't. Atmospheric CO2 has increased slightly, and the world is actually getting cooler. NASA is now admitting that climate change occurs because of changes in Earth's solar orbit and not because of SUVs and fossil fuels and plastic bags and plastic straws. All right, moving on to other stories. Pardon me. The former strongman dictator of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe, has passed away. He was 95. He had a good run. And but the attitude of most people is good riddance to him, because he was not a very nice person. Okay, here's an interesting little story. Apparently, there has been this Muslim airline mechanic, worked for American Airlines, who tried to sabotage an airplane with 150 people aboard. This was not an act of terror. Now, fortunately, the flight crew realized something was wrong with the navigation system and got it working before they took off. But apparently, according to the criminal complaint, Abdul Majid Maruf Ahmed Alani, who was a veteran employee of American Airlines, did this as a form of labor protest, because apparently the union contract negotiations have stalled. And apparently the employees are suffering financial hardships. And so this gentleman said it was never his intention to cause harm to the aircraft or its passengers, just to get them a little lost and delay the flight here. Turning down to South America, the U.S. military is now surrounding Venezuela with a new deployment in Guyana. And apparently, the U.S. military has now effectively surrounded Venezuela ahead of a possible military intervention. They've got it surrounded on the ground. They've got naval superiority in the Caribbean. And the Pentagon is working with Colombia, Brazil, and other regional partners on how to crush Venezuela's economy so that President Maduro would step down and be replaced with an obedient U.S. puppet, which is really what this is all about. So we don't know what Russia and China will do when this invasion takes place. But again, historically, the United States has not done well in jungle warfare. We didn't do all that well in Korea. Technically, that war is still ongoing. And we certainly didn't do all that well in Vietnam. And Venezuela is, as James Cameron mentioned in Avatar, it's mean Bush. Over in Iran, pardon me, the U.S. is intensifying pressure against Iran, targeting the oil tanker network. They've hit it with more sanctions. And they're out there to just crush this country until they surrender. It's economic warfare. Now, yesterday we reported on how a U.S. representative for Iran offered several $1 million to the captain of the Iranian ship seized off of Gibraltar. And Brian Hook sent this letter saying, I bring you good news. I'm going to give you several $1 million if you will sail this ship to a port in a country where the ship will be impounded on behalf of the United States. Yesterday, I reported that the captain had not replied. Today, he has. Captain Akhilesh Kumar basically said no. And it could be that Kumar is a true Iranian patriot. It could be that he is concerned as to what would happen with his family left behind in Iran if he did that. And it may very well be that the crew of the tanker refused to go along with such an order. So we don't know exactly what's happening. But apparently the United States has decided that Iran is a problem that can be solved with money. And the U.S. State Department is now offering $15 million in a reward program for anyone who provides information on the financial inner workings of Iran's Revolutionary Guard in an attempt to further disrupt them with sanctions. So the program comes after the U.S. declared the Revolutionary Guards terrorists, which was nonsense. This is a uniformed military service obedient to its government. They're not terrorists. So some analysts are saying they expect a backlash against the program as further harming European and other international diplomatic efforts with Iran. I think at this point we can pretty much say that the Trump administration doesn't believe in diplomacy. They don't believe in talking. It's almost like the days of Teddy Roosevelt, speak softly and carry a big stick. Now, yesterday we reported on how Donald Trump had said we're going to maintain a presence, we're going to keep 8,000 troops in Afghanistan, which is now our second longest war after Korea. And today they're announcing that the U.S. will pull 5,000 troops from Afghanistan and close some of their military bases within 135 days. So we're still trying to figure out who is actually calling the shots over there. The U.S. Army has now awarded 2 key hypersonic missile contracts. And remember, yesterday we reported on how Putin offered Trump, so we'll sell you the hypersonic weapons we've developed. And then we'll both have the same weapons. That's détente, mutually assured destruction. And Trump said, no, we're going to build our own. And apparently Dynetics won the first contract to produce 20 common hypersonic glide bodies for both the Army and the Navy. Lockheed Martin won the second contract to upgrade 8 of these hypersonic glide bodies with guidance systems, rocket boosters, protective canisters, and a missile battery that can house 4 long-range hypersonic weapons. So they're going for the glitz and the glamour and the gadgetry and the whiz-bang factor, which, let's be honest, did not work out for the Gerald R. Ford, did not work out for the F-35, did not work out for the F-22. So this is obviously means more money for Lockheed Martin and Dynetics, but it's probably going to produce another piece of junk. Alrighty. Apparently, a U.S. military jet had a little bit of a whoopsie during a routine training flight near Tucson, Arizona, and fired a rocket with a white phosphorus warhead. Now, the military is saying the white phosphorus munition hit a deserted area. No reason to doubt that. There's a lot of open areas in Arizona. But on the other hand, it left a really big crater outside Flagstaff. I saw a picture of that one. Little humor there. All right, we're coming up here on a commercial break. Join us on the air, 800-313-9443, and we will be right back.
Yeah. Republic Broadcasting Network depends on listener support of our advertisers and of our sponsors. We'd like to especially thank all of you who have taken advantage of our fundraiser with FrontSight Bonus. Those who are now FrontSight members, please train as soon as possible for your sake and for that of our nation. And please consider sharing your training and what you've learned when you arrive home. Republic Broadcasting Network has to stop promoting this fundraiser on air and on the website in just a few days. Dr. Ignatius Piazza, president of FrontSight, made a gracious exception to his no media rule for us at Republic Broadcasting Network. Thank you, Dr. Piazza. And once you've been to FrontSight, feel free to call your favorite host and share your experience on the air. We can continue this fundraiser without media help, but it'll be totally up to the listeners to spread the information. Please call Dan Sutterfield in Missouri at 573-465-2356, 573-465-2356. That's 573-465-2356.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America, from Indiana.
Children alike.
And it turns out that James Comey may not be out of the woods yet. Now, originally they said the Inspector General recommended no prosecution. It turns out, yes, he did, and that was vetoed by Attorney General Barr. But apparently, evidence has surfaced that Comey inserted 3 spies in the White House to, first of all, spy on President Trump and report back to Comey what was going on, and to try and actively sabotage the president. This is sabotaging the president. This is messing around with our government. And apparently a lawsuit has been filed, Freedom of Information Act, for information on Anthony Ferrante, Gordon Kelly, and Tashina Gohart, who apparently are these FBI spies that Comey inserted into the White House. He's got to be arrested and tried now. Trump ought to just... I mean, this is a guy who, while he was head of the FBI, actively worked against his commander-in-chief. It's amazing how corrupt the system has become. Now, Representative Devin Nunes has filed a racketeering lawsuit against Fusion GPS, which, if you remember, this is the group behind the anti-Trump Steele dossier. And the reason he's filing the racketeering lawsuit is that Fusion GPS bank records do show payments from the Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee. So they got the chain of evidence. Now, another little scandal that's emerged here is apparently the FBI never searched Anthony Weiner's laptop until after the 2016 election. They were still working to protect Hillary Clinton's chances at the White House. And as of right now, Anthony Weiner's iPad and iPhone are missing. Nobody has any idea where they are. Probably at the bottom of a river somewhere, weighed down with a concrete block here. Now, here's an interesting little story here. 4 states are looking to cancel the 2020 GOP presidential primaries and caucuses, and of course the Trump challengers, who are so far behind that it really doesn't make any difference, but they're crying foul. And so the states are South Carolina, Nevada, Arizona, and Kansas, and they're expected to finalize their cancellations in meetings over the weekend. Now, I think the California GOP ought to consider exactly the same thing as a way to counter this ridiculous law that they have in California, that Trump has to release all of his tax returns to get on that primary ballot. And it'll work. Now, over in Pittsburgh, I mean, this is getting so ugly, and we know politics is a dirty business, but over in Pittsburgh, somebody set up a website to disclose Trump-supporting business owners and offer tips on getting their businesses closed down. This has triggered a major backlash, because one of the freedoms that we're supposed to have here is the freedom to have our own opinion about who should be in the White House or in Congress and not have to suffer any kind of punitive damages for it. But apparently the liberals have now taken the position of adopting these brown shirt-like tactics that if you don't agree with their agenda, if you don't vote for their candidates, they will do bad things to you. It's amazing here. All righty. Up in Canada, there's a case before the courts there where this transgender teen is literally suing his parents and accuses his dad of, quote, family violence for opposing his testosterone therapy. Now, if anybody out there knows how much this costs, I mean, is this all just being driven by money? Is transgenderism being sold to our kids just as another moneymaker the way vaccines are? Because I don't understand where this is all coming from. Anyway, apparently over in Sussex in Great Britain, the school there has enforced a new gender-neutral dress code. And apparently the police were there with the teachers acting like bouncers, blocking the school gates and sending pupils home who weren't wearing the new uniforms. So I don't know, maybe the teachers own stock in the uniform company. But apparently they were very, very upset when some girls wore skirts to the school. Now, the students don't like this dress code. The parents don't like this dress code. But it's another one of these ideas about, you know, we liberals think this is a wonderful thing, and therefore we're going to jam it down your throat as hard as we can. Okay, we got to take another break for commercials. Join us on the air, 800-313-9443, and we'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, keep it today.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations, A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. And I was just checking in on the moon landing by the Chandrayaan-2 moon mission. And apparently it's gone through its braking phase. They still have not received any telemetry from the surface, but Mission Control is saying it's way too early to be worrying about this right now. But, you know, space is rough. And I think one of the things that led to the Teacher in Space tragedy was NASA's agenda to try and make it look like spaceflight was now as routine as air travel. And it isn't. Not yet, at any rate. Alrighty, so anyway, the Me Too movement has claimed its first fatality. A few days ago, Zoe Quinn accused Night in the Woods developer Alec Halauka of abusing her. He had no proof. He denies it. And apparently we're in this accusation equals guilt mindset these days. So the company where Halauka was dying cut ties with him and canceled the game he'd been working on. And now apparently he has committed suicide. So when you hand that kind of power to somebody where they can ruin a life, or for that matter, take your guns, based on an unfounded, unproven allegation, you know that we have lost much of what used to make this the greatest nation on earth. Liberal author Rebecca Mackay says that no normal people, little dig in there at conservatives, should wear any sort of red baseball cap because they too closely resemble that of the Make America Great Again variety. So in her mind, just wearing the color red on your hat, that's a bad thing. We're back here to banning colors, which, if memory serves me correct, we have not had a government that engaged in that kind of stuff since ancient Rome, where nobody but the emperor was allowed to wear purple. And here is where it is getting really silly out there. Jennifer Aniston apparently did a magazine spread, and she's very tanned. That's part of her look. She's very, very tan. And immediately her photo spread was slammed as racist. She's in blackface. No, she's not blackface. That's the color of her skin. They're trying to make comparisons to former NAACP chapter leader Rachel Dolezal, who was born white but insisted that she was black and was caught wearing makeup. But I mean, this is Jennifer Aniston. And yes, she likes to have it. Now we're in a situation where if you go to a tanning studio and you come out a little overdone, they're going to scream you're a racist, that you're in blackface. That's just how ridiculous the whole thing has become. Okay, turning to the economic news. European gas prices plunged to a 10-year low. That's good for the Europeans. And apparently at the same time, we're seeing electric vehicle sales start to slow down. Nobody has any money. We were talking about it yesterday. Even the wealthy have stopped spending. They just want to hunker down because they think bad things are about to happen. All right, over at Boeing, they're struggling to get the 737 MAX back into the air. And of course, Boeing's investors are very nervous about that. And they're trying to figure out when will the jet return to service. And it may not be all that simple because Europe's chief aviation regulator, which is their version of the FAA, gave a presentation to the European Parliament Transport and Tourism Committee on Tuesday. And in it said there are other issues, and it may result in different aviation authorities around the globe lifting the ban on the 737 MAX at different times. And what that means is even if the ban is lifted here in the United States of America, the 737 MAX would not be able to fly into these other countries where it is still banned. And the airlines who bought the 737 MAX that are losing money hand over fist. This is not looking good for Boeing at the time when they're trying to come out with that new one, the 777. What is that? The 777 XT. I forgot the designations. It's a good-looking airplane. You know, it really is a very pretty airplane. But people are just scared. And several of the major airlines have already announced that when the 737 MAX does return to service, they will try and accommodate passengers who don't want to fly on that aircraft. This could turn into as big a aviation disaster as the de Havilland Comet. Pushed too hard, too fast, didn't test enough. Got into trouble with that one. All righty. Over in California in Merced County, a sheriff's detective was shot and killed by an illegal alien who had been released from jail for prior offenses due to the state sanctuary laws. Guadalupe Lopez Herrera was arrested yesterday after shooting this Merced County detective in the chest. And still, the liberal Democrats think this is all okay. It's just one police detective. Really, it's a small price to pay, for our one world government, our open borders. Apparently, over in Montgomery County, which is an illegal alien sanctuary, I might add, apparently they've been lashing out at Trump and critics after 7 illegals were arrested for rape last month. I mean, can you look at the double standard that's on display here? You can't even make a polite comment to a woman without being accused of sexual assault and having your life ruined. But here we have these illegals murdering and raping, and they're being treated with these kid gloves. And frankly, I think kind of sucks. All right, we have a caller on the line. Ray in Indiana. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to welcome you to Indiana. It's been pretty mild weather here the few days, so I'm sure it's quite the change from what you're used to in Hawaii.
Well, we actually this year in Hawaii was pretty mild. We had a couple of near misses with hurricanes, but nothing major. I was hoping Claire was going to get to see at least one major tropical storm before we left, but it actually didn't happen. We're very lucky with the weather here. Looking out the window here, we're getting a lot of clouds coming on in, and I think the forecast is we're going to have thunder showers tonight.
Well, anyway, thanks again for all the free podcasts. I've been listening to and I'm normally a podcast listener, and I don't always get to call in. But the other day you were talking to Dustin and Tom and all them about voting. I wanted to let you know Indiana is a very popular libertarian state, and I'm a libertarian and member of the party, and we've had ballot access for several elections now. So you will have a third-party choice on your ballot.
Okay, good.
Yes, and real conservatives vote libertarian. And the present-day Republicans are not conservatives. And but anyway, like I said, I'm a podcast, so I don't know what you're talking about, so I don't want to take a bunch of your time. Anyway, welcome to Indiana. I hope you'll love it. And Who's Your Daddy is, there's several bars that have that name.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I can't use that. That would be a trademark violation, and I don't need to get sued my first week in on the mainland here. So
I don't know if any of them trademarked it because there's more than one that use that name. But so anyway, I just want to thank you for your show and the free podcast, and wish you good luck here in Indiana. And I like the idea that you said this is going to be your final move. You picked a good spot to pick your final move in. Indiana,
I'm not going through that again.
We have a balanced budget on the state. It's not like Illinois. And in general, the state government seems to be running pretty good. So, yeah, all in all, I think you picked a good state.
Well, it's starting to grow on me. And, like I said at the start of the show, Claire and I have located a place we think we're going to be very happy in. We're not going to be able to move in until October 1st. So I'm going to be using this little Windows 10 machine here for a little while longer than I'd hoped to. So anyway, thanks an awful lot.
You have a great time. All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Well, apparently things are not doing very well over in Mission Control in India. The communications between the orbiter and the lander have been switched on. The orbiter is functioning perfectly, but nothing yet from the lander. And if it has crashed, I feel so bad for those people because I know what it's like to sit at those consoles. And you develop an emotional attachment to your mission. You really do. All right, let's go back to the phones here. Joe in Tennessee, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, I was just looking at the map. You're a little over 5 hours from me here. I'm a little bit east of Knoxville, but if you're ever down in the area, there's Knoxville and Asheville and Dollywood, and there's some Indian casinos. So if you ever come around, just look me up. Come visit me and my dogs.
Well,
I wanted to.
I'm a dog lover. I love dogs here, and yeah, I mean, we still have to explore this place. We don't know what's around here. We're going to this little sort of fair tomorrow. It's a fundraiser for charity, and we're going to be doing that a little bit.
I don't know enough about Indiana. I know Nashville's not that far, and that's a really good town.
Yeah,
and I like Knoxville. It's kind of scruffy, but I wanted to call about what Bernie Sanders said about controlling the population of third world peoples during the climate. I just think, could you imagine if a Republican or a conservative or Trump had said something like that? I mean,
well, actually, they did. Richard Nixon did. I mean, he wasn't really public about it, but back during the Nixon administration, they actually did a study and said that the biggest threat to the United States was the growing population of third world countries because, gosh darn it, those people were just using up all those natural resources that American corporations wanted to have. And so they basically implemented a policy of covert sterilization of these women in these third world countries, and they've been caught doing it several times since then. So it's not really a new idea, and yes, it's also embraced by Republicans.
Well, I know they said it 50 years ago, but in this day and age, with all the accusations of racism to anybody that says anything off color about third world populations. What does he mean? Africa and the Hispanic population in South America? I mean, third world countries are generally minority type peoples.
I think he means poor people.
Well, I think that I find the left would never tolerate a Republican saying something like this. Now, it might have Nixon and Kissinger, I think, said it also. That was over 50 years ago. But I mean, they call Trump a racist at the drop of a hat. And
yes.
What Bernie said, once again, if Trump had said it, they'd still be screaming about it all through the weekend too. I about guarantee that. I also wanted to say that what a great day it is with Robert Mugabe dying.
Yes.
I mean, he personally destroyed Rhodesia, starvation and murder and necklacing. Yeah, and it's Zimbabwe, but it was a great country when it was Rhodesia. It was part of the breadbasket of Africa, and now they're all starving, and they've killed and confiscated all the white farmers' property and land, and now they can't feed themselves, and it's really a disgrace. And one quick thing when I was in New York that I did notice was, I see the cops on TV being sprayed by water.
Yes.
And I have to tell you, when I was in New York, the police are so fat and out of shape. And I mean, they really have no, you think of police and you think of that, officer with the guy, Krupke, you remember from West Side Story, big guys and burly. And now they just a bunch of fat slobs, really. And in a way, I don't blame people for squirting them with water guns and stuff because they really don't have an air of dignity.
Uncivil. It's uncivil, and again, the police have to be held to account for allowing themselves to go soft. Police management obviously is not supervising properly, but again, squirting them with water, or today there was another incident involving milk. It's uncivil, and we need to go back to being a civilized country. Pardon me. Civilization.
Well, I remember there was a Navy parade in Thailand, and it was during the monsoon, and it was raining really, really hard. And they had a video of it. And the American Navy came down there all sloppy with their shirts untucked, just waving at everybody like they were all celebrities. And then the Russian Army came, the Russian Navy came, and they were just in step. They looked disciplined. And the Thais loved them. They were laughing at the American Navy.
Yeah.
And I remember it's hard to find that video. I think they scrubbed it off YouTube. But my point about the fact of the way, when you let yourself fall apart like the New York police, have, and I'm not saying to go douse them with water, but don't be surprised if people do, because you have no dignity. If you're not dignity, how do you expect to be? You don't act dignified. You don't look dignified. Don't expect everybody to treat you with respect. I mean, it's just pretty much, you have to look the part too, in order to receive respect. And I just thought that, this is just from, my impression. And I saw a lot of police because there was they had a suspicious package and they had the bomb squad come out there while I was eating. So I was just watching them and it really stuck out to me. Like, my God, look at all these police. They're all like, and not just overweight, but obese, morbidly obese. And it just stuck out to me like, wow, this is really something. I mean, where are they recruiting all these police from, So I don't know, but it's just
well,
something.
They're recruiting them from the general population, and we do have a major obesity problem in this country, which I think relates to chemicals in our food. Anyway, listen, Joe, I got to let you go. Got to take a break for commercials. Back with another phone call after these few words.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. After just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356, or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN, at hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
Don't regret growing old. It's a privilege denied to many. Heart disease is taking our youth from us. Young people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond are dying needlessly. One of the hardest messages I've ever had to deliver is to convince people that something natural like Extendivite should be taken as a preventative measure. I'm sure you heard an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Extendivite is that ounce. Take Extendivite for 1 year and see what your doctor has to say and how much better you feel. Herbs take time to address the problem. It took years of life to have a problem. Give Extendivite 1 year to fix the problem. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or visit us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Now, yesterday we were talking about how the Kroger's supermarket chain had put out basically a notice asking their customers to not openly carry their guns in their supermarkets anymore. This is in states where open carry is allowed. And today, apparently, 3 more big retailers have introduced the same thing. Walgreens, CVS, and Wegmans joined that list of businesses that are asking customers to avoid openly carrying guns in the stores. I think this is going to be counterproductive. And the reason I say that is very, very simple. If somebody walks into a store with ill intent and see a bunch of customers carrying guns, they're going to be kind of turning around and going out. Anyway. All right, we're going to go back to the phones here. Peter in Los Angeles, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Peter?
Oh, hello. Mike?
Hello. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. Hey, welcome to Indiana, Mike. I'm glad to hear you back on the air and all.
Well, thank you.
I was just calling about the FBI, Mike, and about how Comey and McCabe and Strzok and all those people, even with the internal investigation by their inspector general, said there was a crime committed. Nobody's held accountable.
Nope.
The thing you said with the entire investigation on the Hillary Clinton, the Clinton Foundation, and none of that. None of the stuff with Weiner, with Anthony Weiner. You know who does go to jail? The people. Hillary Clinton committed the crimes, and Julian Assange, who revealed the crimes. He's in jail.
Yes.
And the guy who the CIA who does the torture, and they're going free, and the new director is a torturist. But the person who ratted them out and revealed that they were torturing against the law, he went to jail too.
Yes.
That's just the way it goes. Nobody will ever hold these guys accountable. Barr is in on it too, obviously.
Of course he's in on it.
He had the opportunity to do it and didn't do it. It's just the justice system and the justice organizations in the United States are utterly, completely compromised, and they really ought to be broken up.
It's a corrupted government, and what we need is for this government to go away. Either they lose a war or there's an economic collapse, because they're obviously not taking care of the nation and its people. If anything, they're trying to slam the gates on us because they know we're onto them. All right, well, listen, Peter, I need to let you go. We got to take a break for station identification. We'll be back with another phone call after these few words.
How healthy are your arteries? Deteriorating circulation has a number of early warning signs. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, fingers and or toes often go cold, arms and or legs often go to sleep, sharp diagonal crease in the earlobe, short walks cause cramping or pains in legs, memory is not as good as it used to be, ankles swell late in the day, chest pain after physical exercise or emotional stress. If you experience even one of these symptoms, your circulatory system is crying out for attention. Extendivite is a natural solution to help improve your overall health. Extendivite is not your average heart tonic. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And we're going to take a phone call from Chris in Las Vegas. Aloha, Chris. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, Michael, I was rather shocked to hear this preposterous position of Walgreens and CVS and some of these other places that want to exclude the common people from being properly armed because they have to be qualified or should be qualified at least and expert in handling their home defense implements when they go into these stores and deter criminal behavior and making the place a easy to prey on pool of targeted individuals for those who would come in criminally with secreted arms or assault weapons, as the case may be, to go to a target-rich environment, especially when you consider they probably have exempted the so-called private mercenaries who pose as public servants, police officers and the like, from open carrying. When they come in there, they wouldn't expect them to disarm themselves and put themselves at harm's way of being preyed upon by others with illicit firearms in the store. Mm-hmm. And since the police actually have no more right to arrest than a common man or woman under the right to self-arrest or citizen's arrest, as they like to call it, it seems to be an unsupported, unsubstantiated hearsay position that's based upon myth and their fear that somebody with a firearm might potentially pose a danger when more likely they're really creating more of a safe environment for shoppers to shop without fear of being preyed upon by predators with weapons that might come in with axes or knives or even guns if they're scary to the owners of the stores. And I think I'd shop elsewhere if it were me.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into these places. Now, I don't open carry a gun, but there is a principle involved here. I think these stores have basically caved into pressure from the liberals. Earlier in the show, we were talking about how over in Pittsburgh, there was this liberal group got together, literally with an agenda to close down businesses that support Donald Trump. And I would say that they're probably expanding that same approach to businesses that support gun rights. And so we're probably going to see a lot more of these stores saying, oh, no, they're trying to bring back the gun-free zones, even though the gun-free zone has been an invitation for, mayhem.
Absolutely, Michael. These criminals don't care if it's a gun-free zone or not. They just consider it a target-rich environment where they can go in and pick off the unarmed, disarmed, disabled, unprotected with ease and no fear of retribution or repercussions for their actions unless the police may accidentally 20 or 30 minutes later show up. And then if they actually come inside to try to stop the shooter, it remains a myth and a curiosity, especially considering the Parkland shooting when they stood outside while children were being supposedly murdered.
Yes. No, absolutely. And again, the courts have ruled several times that the police are under no legal obligation to intervene if you are the victim of a crime. That if they feel they want to be safe outside, it's okay for them to do that. And I remember when I was still living in North Hollywood, which was, it was a long time ago, and I had a scanner. And this was before police radios were encrypted. I'm giving my age away here. And, you could hear the police and they'd show up at this place where, there was some kind of violent altercation going on. And you'd hear them just sitting in the cars saying, do you think it's safe to go in yet? And, I think one of the things I like about Indiana, they seem to have a very healthy attitude about guns and gun control here. And, I don't know that I'm going to avail myself of that with all the other things I've got to do. But it's definitely a healthy attitude, and there are signs in the stores. They're humorous, and it's all about don't come in here and try and rob this place because you won't get out.
Well, Michael, if you don't mind, I will support your position in case some of your listeners might be suspicious that the police actually have a duty to guard and protect them. They look up Barron versus the city of Baltimore, and they make it plain as they don't face on your nose that you have no duty to protect us. They protect the corporations they serve as private foreign corporate mercenaries, but pose as public servants and pretender defenders. Thank you so very much, Michael. I think I'll let myself go. Carry on.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I remember a few years ago, there was a story that came out of Georgetown near Washington, and it involved these three ladies who were sharing a townhouse, and some criminals broke in and grabbed one of the women and were raping her on the first floor of this townhouse. And the other two women called the police and said, you know, we have intruders in our home. They're raping one of us. Please come and help. And the police never showed up. And eventually things got quiet on the first floor. And the other two women figured, well, maybe these guys have gone. And they walked downstairs right into the arms of these perpetrators, who spent the rest of the night, you know, sexually assaulting them and abusing them. And so they sued the Georgetown police for failure to protect them. And the court said, no, they're not really under an obligation. And so we live in this country where the police are being told you're not under obligation to protect citizens from violent crime. At the same time, we're being told we're not allowed to have the means to protect ourselves from violent criminals. And it's sort of a reminder, our entire society has become one big organized crime spree. The criminals are getting away with everything, whether it's the illegal immigrants, getting away with rape and murder, and the law-abiding citizens are being hemmed in tighter and tighter. Okay, so let's get on back. I want to take a quick look here. It's not looking good for the Indian space probe, and Prime Minister Modi was there in the control room, and he's saying, you know, there are ups and downs in life. This is not a small achievement. He's absolutely right about that. But apparently there is no telemetry coming from the lander to the orbiter, and people are starting to get kind of a little unhappy about that. Okay. There's apparently a new toy, if you will, used by law enforcement. They're experimenting with it. It's called a reverse warrant. And basically, they use these warrants to seek a list of possible suspects rather than targeting a specific suspect. Mostly it's a dragnet, an electronic dragnet using the cellular system and social media. And cops basically start working backwards to suspects by using the copious amount of GPS data hoovered up by Google and others. So, again, apparently they're asking Google to help track down the bank robbers' phones. So if you're going to rob a bank, leave your phone behind. Story that came out today. Windows 10 not working after latest upgrade. Here are the bugs to look out for. And last May, Microsoft came out with Windows 10 version 1903. And it prompted this huge outcry from the user community because it was just full of bugs. And Microsoft is trying to deal with the situation, but they still have a lot of outstanding problems. And what they seem to be doing, now I don't know this for a fact, what they seem to be doing is if something isn't working right now for the moment, they're taking it out. And I say that because this machine I'm using right here is Windows 10. And as soon as I'm back on my main machine, I'm going to turn this into a Linux box because it is a pain in the okole, which is Hawaiian for what you sit on, to use. And it's not enjoyable. It's not fun. It's not easy to use. And there's a built-in mail application. And it locks up all the time. Memory management is terrible. and you go out to the online documentation and you say, I want to find things like, how to add an additional folder for things I want to keep, something that's easy to do on Outlook. And sure, Microsoft will sell you Outlook for Windows 10 for something like $60, but the built-in mail application, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. I have problems where I can't even use the search tool. Down in the lower left, you'll start typing and the window closes. And I think that's part of the memory management problem. Now, there's 4 gigs of RAM on this machine, and there's 4 gigs of virtual memory on this machine. And I'm not running anything all that intensive, and it still keeps running out of memory and shutting things down. This is a horrible operating system. I think this is the worst operating system Microsoft put out since the Millennium Edition. So, yeah, Linux rules. By the way, we're going to have a guest in hour number 3, David from Crucial Nonsense. We've had him on the show before, talking about Linux and Raspberry, and maybe developing a new citizen-based way to fight back against all this censorship that we're dealing with here. All righty, now, apparently there is this photo app, and it's very popular. It's going viral, and it's called Deepfake. It's made by Zao, and it basically is a face swapping application. And it uses artificial intelligence to replace the faces of characters in film or TV clips with images of anyone whose photo you upload to the app. And apparently it is very realistic and shows just how far the technology has come, but also highlights how great the risks have become in making your photos available online where anybody can use and abuse them. So I remember years ago there was this Arnold Schwarzenegger film called The Running Man that actually had something like that as part of the story plot. And of course then it was science fiction. Reality's caught up. Science fact here. All right, Germany has announced a plan to ban glyphosate by 2023. And they basically came on out with this rather flip statement saying a world without insects is not worth living in, which generally I tend to agree with. Insects are an important part of the ecosystem, except for this little one that keeps flying around here in front of the camera. I think they should have stuck to the fact that glyphosate is a probable human carcinogen. That would have been, I think, the smart thing to do. But apparently the U.S.-based advocacy group Organic Consumers Association tweeted out, "Way to go, Germany." And I think it's a good idea. I think what Germany did is very good because of how dangerous this chemical is. And again, getting back to this theory that our entire country has become this gigantic crime organization, then it makes perfect sense. Our corporations are allowed to sell products that are not working, full of bugs, could be dangerous, harmful to your health. We've been talking about a potential collapse for quite a long time. I think it's already underway. You don't see this kind of behavior in a modern civilized society where there's this complete and utter disregard for the general population in the rush to get filthy, stinking rich. All righty. Apparently there was a recent launch failure. Rocket's called the Vega. It's a small sat launcher. And last July they had a flight and it exploded, and the commission identified the most likely cause of the anomaly as a thermostructural failure in the forward dome of the Z-23 motor, which is politicians speak for, the engine blew up. Space isn't easy, as our friends in India have unfortunately apparently found out. Alrighty. Now, this is a very bizarre story, and it comes from Europe. And apparently, Germany, these research organizations, Geomar and HZG, back in December of 2016, installed an underwater observatory at a price tag of $332,000. And it was just these two large racks with a combined weight of 1,631 pounds. And the equipment was connected to the German mainland with a huge cable. And about a month ago, it stopped transmitting. Figured, well, communication error. And they sent divers down to see what was going on. The observatory was gone. 1,631 pounds, it was gone. The cable was just torn off, completely shredded. They're out there saying, gee, I wonder what happened. Well, I don't know. Maybe somebody decided that $332,000 worth of underwater gear was something that they might want to have. Over at NASA, they've spotted something in deep space they can't quite explain. These are bright flashes of green and blue spots that appeared and disappeared very rapidly. And apparently, the NuSTAR X-ray Observatory was looking at the fireworks galaxy and saw multiple blobs of the green light that appeared and disappeared within weeks. Now, according to a new study published in the Astrophysical Journal, NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory also witnessed the appearance and disappearance of the green blob. So we're not dealing with a mechanical instrumentation failure here. I'll tell you what I think it is. I think it's the alien civilization sending us a message to send more Chuck Berry. And unless you're my age and remember the Voyager mission, you probably didn't get that reference. Voyager, when it was launched, there were two of them, on the side was this gold cover, and inside this gold cover was a phonograph record. This was the brainchild of Carl Sagan. And it was sort of a more grandiose vision of the plaque that they'd put on Pioneer, one that offended so many people because it had a picture of naked humans on it. So on this phonograph record, one side was music tracks, and then the other side were digitally stored images, and of course, they included the little playback head and detailed instructions on how to recover the data. And so after that was launched, about a week later, there was a message that came in, ostensibly through the Deep Space Network, saying, message received, send more Chuck Berry. Alrighty, now there's this scientist, Neil Gamel from the University of Otago in New Zealand, went all the way up to Scotland and collected DNA from Loch Ness. And he's out there with his new theory that the lake's fabled monster might be a giant eel. Now, of course, Loch Ness is known to be full of eels. So how does he know whether there's a giant eel or just a lot of little ones? But he held a news conference in Scotland and said the idea of a giant eel is at least plausible. Now, the reason I bothered running this story, there was something about it that I was very unhappy with. This story was all over corporate media, and it was illustrated with this iconic photo that's supposed to be of the Loch Ness Monster's head and neck coming out of the water. And the problem is that photo has been discredited long ago. It's a fake. And yet the media use it to illustrate stories about Loch Ness, and I think that's very dishonest. Okay, they just had the Burning Man Festival, and the festival's kind of deteriorating. I mean, originally it was all about arts and... Oh, we've got to take a break for commercials. Do join us on the air, 800-313-9443, and we'll be right back.
reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. By Christine, great for heart palpitations. By Anne, before I started using this product, every afternoon my ankles and my hands would be swollen. That doesn't happen anymore. So if that part of their advertising is true, I have to assume that the rest of it is also. Not to mention that when I had my yearly blood test, only a few weeks after beginning to use this product, my cholesterol had dropped over 30 points. I'm going to continue to take it. By Croc, I love this product. It really works. By Brad, works great, thank you. Tell us your story. Get your Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
As a listener of RBN, you're surely concerned about being informed and being ready for whatever may come. Please consider the following questionnaire as a soul-jarring wake-up call. If you answer no to more than 2 of these following questions, you probably aren't going to make it through any major disruption in our country. The questions were compiled by people that have been there. Are you really ready? Do you own your own firearm for the primary defense and protection of you and your loved ones? Have you ever been professionally trained to stand against life-threatening behavior? Have you ever practiced enough to fire 500 rounds during a 2 to 4 day time frame, day and night? Can you load, unload, fire, and clear a jam in total darkness? Have all the adults in your household been professionally trained? Are you, life and death, comfortable with your abilities with pistol, revolver, shotgun, and rifle? Are you aware that everything that you do to prepare for an emergency is a waste of time, money, and energy? If you haven't honed your abilities to their highest level to protect and keep what you have, do you have the repair parts that will most likely be needed for each of your firearm, and do you have the ability to install those parts? Could you completely clean every firearm you own? Are you aware that your body won't go where your mind hasn't been? In other words, without proper training, followed by regular practice, you probably will not win a gunfight. Well, how did you measure up? Take the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to start correcting your deficiencies by receiving your Commander Lifetime Membership with Front Sight Firearms Training Facility. A one-time donation to RBN for $500 will give you a Commander Lifetime Membership at Front Sight as a tremendously huge thank you bonus. See details on RBN's webpage to make it happen. The clock is ticking. You had better be ready before it happens.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And we were talking about the Burning Man Festival, which began with high ideals of art, dance, music, just people getting on out there and being able to just do their own thing. And over the years, of course, we've seen all these photo essays of these young people having a really good time. Lately, it's unfortunately deteriorated. Apparently, this year there were several deaths, sexual assaults, and a lot of hucksterism, a lot of attempts to simply, exploit the Burning Man Festival. I remember when I was a kid working for something called the Renaissance Pleasure Fair. And when I first started with them, it was really dedicated to the idea of historical recreationism. And the last time I visited the fair, it was just nothing but booth after booth. People weren't worried about anachronistic clothing or products. It was just, they were using the name value. Anyway, getting on back to Burning Man, apparently this 60-year-old Jewish artist provoked a reaction with what was called the Auschwitz Barbie exhibit, where he built these little models of ovens, crucifixes, and decorated them with Barbie dolls. And even the Anti-Defamation League that was too much. And they said, you're trivializing the Holocaust, which that does not appear to have been his intention. But anyway. All right, let me see. Let me dig down here and find some more stories. Over in Great Britain, Boris Johnson, well, he's been betrayed by Jeremy Corbyn. Corbyn's bloc is now preventing the no-deal Brexit. They're preventing a new snap general election. Boris Johnson came out and said, I'd rather be dead in a ditch than delay Brexit. But he had this pledge that if it wasn't done by the end of next month, that he would resign as prime minister. But supposedly he's meeting with the Queen at Balmoral right about now. Somebody got a drone back out over Epstein's Island, and apparently there's a lot of activity going on out there. And you kind of wonder why that would be the case on Little St. James Island. Now, we know that a computer that had been on the premises has been removed. But apparently there's a lot of other stuff. You know what they're doing? They're probably pulling out the cameras and microphones. That's going to take a while. They're going to pull out all those wires, pull out the cameras and microphones, repaint, replaster, open it as a tourist attraction. Okay. I think we talked about this yesterday, but I'm going to mention it again. The U.S. visa can be denied if you or even your friends are critical of American policies, of which, let's face it, with American policies, people can be critical. All right. Whoops. Windows 10 is paying me back for the unkind comments I made a little while ago here. And again, let's take a quick look at what's happening over at Mission Control in India. And they're basically now confirming that communication with the lander has been lost. So I really feel bad for those people. I really, really, really do. Okay. Here's an interesting little story. This came out of Hideout Now. A recent study has said that fewer people are getting married because there's a shortage of economically stable single men. And I'm just waiting for some liberal lady to start screaming that this implies women are gold diggers. Now, this next one is very, very cool. There was this blind inventor who's developed a smart cane that uses Google Maps and sensors to identify its surrounding. And it's going to obviously make people who lack sight, they're going to be more easily navigating the world. So apparently it uses vibrations in the handle to warn you if there's an object nearby. That's a good one. It's a really, really good idea. Okay. Governor Greg Abbott has issued 8 executive orders in response to last month's mass shootings in El Paso and Odessa. And we're going to take another break here for commercials. Join us on the air, 800-313-9443, and we'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
It happens more often than we can imagine. In my case, I was sitting at home, and out of nowhere, I just started feeling uncomfortable. Then it got worse, and I started perspiring. I tried to ignore it, but I waited too long. The chest pain came as we were driving to the hospital emergency. I felt my life clock begin to tick. I barely survived. There was lots of damage done to my heart. What do I do now? I was lucky. I took a leap of faith and tried a 7-herb formula with hawthorn, garlic, cayenne, and more called Extendivite. Herbs have been used for thousands of years to keep us healthy. If you're not using Extendivite as a preventative supplement, maybe it's time to start. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. Women, children alike.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we're talking about Governor Greg Abbott has issued 8 executive orders aimed at stopping potential mass shooters. And basically came out with a statement saying that he'll continue to work expeditiously with the legislature on laws to keep guns out of the hands of dangerous criminals while safeguarding the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding Texans. And so his executive orders focus largely on strengthening law enforcement's ability to respond to and prevent future shootings. Well, tell them that down there in Parkland, mainly through improving reporting channels and closing information gaps when members of the public or law enforcement agencies worry that a person might be a threat to commit violence. So they're talking here about the red flag laws. Okay? Now, Abbott is doing this because he wants to be seen as doing something about the problem, even if that something really isn't going to work. And if you noticed in all of this mass shooting situation, there's one area that nobody wants to talk about, and that is the link between prescription psychiatric medication and these acts of insane violence. And the reason this is important to talk about, you can have somebody who's perfectly fine, and they're a law-abiding citizen, they've got guns. Nothing that was set off a red flag. And then the doctor says, well, here, have some antidepressants. And they have a negative reaction. See, that's the problem. An ordinary, law-abiding U.S. citizen can be turned into a mass shooter with a bunch of pills. And that's the part nobody wants to talk about. Okay, let's grab some phone calls here. Al in Canada, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike.
Hi.
I'm glad you're back.
Yes.
Really glad you're back. It's amazing how much changes in a day or two, isn't it?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, we're bombarded with this stuff on purpose. So anyway, I called to talk about glyphosate,
yes.
Monsanto, and in particular that Bayer. I'm sorry, what Angela Merkel or the German government said about glyphosate, which is, of course, now it's produced by Bayer, bought up Monsanto. Bayer's a German international conglomerate.
Yes.
So Bayer is.
I bet they're having a bad case of buyer's remorse.
But Bayer is allowing itself 3 years to come up with something else, basically.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because it was a blatant lie, what was actually published. It's a known carcinogen.
Yes.
So, who's running the country, Mike? Is it fascism? Is that fascism?
Yeah, fascism
Who's
is
running your
when
country, Mike?
fascists. Fascism is when corporate power and government power are aligned together against the general population. And that's not my definition. That comes from Benito Mussolini, who we all recognize was the Olympic gold medal winner for being a fascist jerk.
Yes. Fascism is running amok in my country.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Which is that's already been proven. So it's pretty much a done deal, I would assume. Who's left?
I don't know, Costa Rica. One of the reasons we're out here in Indiana, and we're as rural as you can get. We didn't want to be in a big city. We didn't want to be near a big freeway. We're in this area. It's very rural, and we're basically.
You got space.
Yeah, we got space, and mostly it's just about being left alone, not having a bunch of people pounding on the door trying to sell us encyclopedias.
Yeah, it's a good thing. You're not. You don't have that. What did you call that island? You've been all over the island. You know every inch nook. What
yes.
do you call that? What was that? What was that you call that, Mike? Island fever.
Yes, island fever.
Is that
it's
what
a
it was?
very real?
So yeah.
Well, that was not so much with us. I mean, we knew some people that really were suffering from island fever, and it was driving them crazy. But Claire and I, our lives are mostly internal. Claire's got her music, and I've got this stuff. And between the Honda, which was falling apart, and especially following Claire's back injury, we just never left the condo. And it's almost like what was outside kind of faded away. Now, during the last few weeks that we were there, we made up a list of things we'd like to see one more time before we go, most of which we didn't get to do. But here there's, I'm starting to realize there's actually, for a rural area, there's a lot of interesting stuff around here.
Yeah. Your country is beautiful. It really is. I've been through a lot of it.
This place is growing on me.
Yep. And you don't even know it. So I hope, obviously you're going to be happy where you are, and you have a better internet connection.
Oh, I certainly do.
And it makes all the difference in the world. So, the thing is, Mike, you always have to move forward, right?
Yes.
Man has to have a destination. I just recently got on Skype actually doing video chat. It's almost 2020, Mike. I've had a computer for 30 years. I've been online since 1996.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm really behind too. Well, I'm not saying you are, but I'm really behind. Some of the other people might be as well. But the thing is, you have to move forward, right?
Yep.
And we know that we know everyone's watching, and you can't stop that.
Nope.
But it shouldn't scare you.
I'm not afraid of it. You know, I put out a lot of junk. I'm jamming the surveillance by putting out a lot of stuff that's just outright fake and lies and hoaxes, so that anybody looking at the data is going to say, this is useless. We can't go into court with any of this.
Yeah, and yet you go on your website and it's it's not too often that an article on your website is wrong.
Yes, it has happened.
Very,
I try
very
and
rare.
avoid it, but I'm doing the best that I can.
Yeah, oh, you're doing a great job, Mike. I'm going to shoot you something off of PayPal there, and I'm asking the other listeners right now to do the same. It doesn't matter if even if it's only $10 or $15 US. You get enough of them, it all adds up, and it all makes a difference. And you just went through some really hard times.
Yeah.
You went a long way. You've come a long way.
About a quarter of the globe.
Yes. So, Mike.
Yeah.
Is it flat?
No. It's not flat.
How many time zones did you cross?
5.
Yep.
And the jet lag was
that's
really
where all this
really bad.
Anyway, we don't want to drag that. Mike, I appreciate it. I love that you're back. Thank you very much. I'm
All right, well,
on PayPal. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. And it cost us a very great deal to make this move. We had we either sold or gave away or threw away a lot of what made our lives, how should I put this? The image of our lives, our identity. Because when you're living in a home and you've been there for a very long time, your identity gets embedded in what's in the house, the furniture. I had some beautiful antique dressers. I had to let those go. A lot of stuff, just a lot of stuff. At this point, I'm almost forgetting what we gave away, and I imagine I'm probably going to open up that shipping container after October 1st, and I'll look inside and say, gee, where's this and that? I mean, I had to sell my my Celestron astronomical telescope, my 5-string banjo, my guitar, my flute, and and yes, somewhere down the road, I'll reacquire, as it were. But it's painful letting that stuff go, because it's not just a banjo or a flute; it's my banjo and my flute, and it was a very stressful, very hard thing to do. All right, let's go to Tony in Puerto Rico. Aloha, Tony. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Mike. Listen, don't be too down on Mussolini. He made the trains and the buses run on time, and he got rid of the mafia. Okay? No, the reason why I'm calling, Mike, I was reading an article. There was an avalanche of ice in Mars. Now,
yes.
Let's talk seriously about this, Mike. Do you think maybe at one time there were humanoids living in Mars, and Mars got destroyed by a meteor? What do you think?
Well, the evidence that I have seen is that Martian life never got past the microbial bacterial. I could be wrong. There's that one very odd image from Curiosity about this crab-like thing sticking out of the side of a gully, and I don't know why they didn't go back and take a closer look at it. But the evidence is that Martian life was very, very primitive. As far as Mars being destroyed by a meteor, there are 2 different craters that are of sufficient size to where an impact there would have literally splashed the atmosphere off into space. And of course, without the atmosphere, then the water would start to sublimate into the vacuum. But now Martian scientists are starting to say that there actually is an underground water system on Mars. And I'm still waiting for them to go on back and confirm what we found on Viking back in 1976. There is currently microbial life on the surface of Mars. But, you know, NASA never likes to have to go back and admit they made a mistake. It took them years to admit that there was actually water on the lunar rocks.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mike. Have a nice weekend.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. The phone lines are open again, 800-313-9443. So apparently YouTube has gone on this massive censorship binge. It purged 17,000 channels for hate speech. And people who are looking at what got purged are saying they didn't break any rules. It's completely arbitrary. Somebody at YouTube says, I don't like what they're saying. So they get to go. And I think that's more power than we should be allowing corporations to have. I haven't checked recently, but as far as I know, all the music videos I wrote for Claire are still there. Some of my political videos may be gone. I think over the weekend I will do a prowl and see what's happening, if I'm still on YouTube or if I'm personaing on Tubi. Alrighty, parents have sued a Minnesota school district saying it did nothing to protect their kids from rampant racism. Whatever happened to sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me. We have been convinced to be these incredibly hypersensitive, overreacted, easily triggered people. Why? Because that way we can be manipulated. You're walking around with a live and let live attitude, and somebody screams at you that you're thus and such, and you just shrug it off. It's impossible to manipulate you. We're being conditioned to be controlled and directed. Apparently, over at Facebook, millions of users' phone numbers are still available online 24 hours after the Facebook bosses promised all the details had been wiped from the web. So, amazing thing. All right. Let's see. Taxpayers are now on the hook for $2.4 million after cops killed an unarmed father on video lying down in his own backyard. This is from Sacramento. And the body camera footage was released from a police shooting that took the life of a father who was confronted in his grandparents' backyard and gunned down because officers thought his phone was a gun. Now, after Sacramento Police Department officers Terrence Mercado and Jared Rabinet escaped any and all accountability, the taxpayers are going to be made to pay instead. And that's something that we actually had an article about on the website today. No matter who does what, taxpayers ultimately pay for it all. Police do something wrong, the taxpayers pay for it. Government does something wrong, the taxpayers pay for it. It's really obscene, if you will. Okay, let me go back down the other direction here. It was actually kind of a slow news day. And that's why I'm running out of stuff to talk about. Apparently, InfoWars has lost their legal effort to get the Sandy Hook defamation case dismissed. And that is a real shame. But again, when you're in the media, you've got to be careful what you say about folks. Because if you say something that is defamatory, you will get sued. All right. No evidence of global warming increasing the frequency of U.S. hurricanes. So we knew that already. And again, if they replay it. Sean Hannity did this incredible monologue about the CNN climate change town hall. Another article, this one, where scientists suggest eating humans to save the planet. They used to call long pork. All right, we're going to take a phone call from Murr in Wisconsin. Aloha, Murr. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, hi, neighbor. I guess you're down in the left ventricle. I'm up in the right atrium of the heartland.
Yeah. Oh, we got to take a break. Stay on the line. I'm going to come right back to you.
Republic Broadcasting Network depends on listener support of our advertisers and of our sponsors. We'd like to especially thank all of you who have taken advantage of our fundraiser with FrontSight Bonus. Those who are now FrontSight members, please train as soon as possible for your sake and for that of our nation. And please consider sharing your training and what you've learned when you arrive home. Republic Broadcasting Network has to stop promoting this fundraiser on air and on the website in just a few days. Dr. Ignatius Piazza, president of FrontSight, made a gracious exception to his no media rule for us at Republic Broadcasting Network. Thank you, Dr. Piazza. And once you've been to FrontSight, feel free to call your favorite host and share your experience on the air. We can continue this fundraiser without media help, but it'll be totally up to the listeners to spread the information. Please call Dan Sutterfield in Missouri at 573-465-2356, 573-465-2356. That's 573-465-2356.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. It really does work like the review says it does. I cannot believe that after the first few days, I didn't feel as sluggish or clogged up. It has had a profound impact on my physical, emotional well-being. I'm skeptical as most people about products and their claims, and I never write reviews, but this is a wonderful product and I recommend it to everyone. Great product. It has brought my blood pressure from the mid-150s over the 80s to the mid-130s over mid-80s, along with diet and exercise in just the past couple of months. Excellent. Thank you, David. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied, but you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with, you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Murr in Wisconsin. Aloha, Murr. And I'm looking out the window here, and it is very rural here.
Yeah. Well, it's even more rural here, but I love it that way. I can keep it wild for all the birds and everybody.
Are you under thunderstorms now?
No, it's still beautiful and sunny over here. West of you, there are some clouds floating around, but you look like you're getting some soon?
Not yet, but we definitely have got some heavy weather coming in. Of course, I'm
Yeah.
still not used to this place, and I could be guessing wrong. And
Yeah, you never know.
I can't look at the weather radar because I'm running my show clock on my iPhone.
Right. Yeah,
So what's
lightning
on your mind?
put out the power here a couple times the other night. Yeah, I was going to tell you about Mike in Brazil that calls your show, right? And he's
Yeah.
right in the Amazon basin, and he said it's they're making it all up. He's probably told you, but he called in Jamie Kelso's show, the Trump phenomenon, the other night, and I just wanted to make sure that he knows, if he happens to hear, that Jamie also has 2 hours on Sunday afternoon. You know, he can look at the schedule for that, but it's like your time period right now, but Sunday. So, because he said it's kind of, I think it's like 10 o'clock probably his time, and he said his wife got annoyed with him. So I was going to say, have your wife call in so we can hear her too. see what she comes up with. She might have some on the ground ideas of what's going on. You never know, right? How's Claire doing?
Claire is doing okay. She's upstairs kind of resting. And, you know, I'm just trying to get through the third hour of the show here. And I'm going to need some calls to kind of do it. It was a slow news day, unfortunately. And I shouldn't say unfortunately, because slow news day means people aren't dying, people aren't getting, you know, crippled or harmed. And that's always a good
Was
thing.
Dave coming in? I'm sorry.
Say again?
Etheric Dave? Is Etheric Dave still coming on?
Yeah,
Oh,
Dave
good.
is still coming
Okay.
on right after the station identification.
Okay, that's excellent. Yeah, it's good to have you here. So we all enjoy it, but I just wanted to make sure that Mike in Brazil, if he got word, because I don't know if I can get through to Jamie. You know, Jamie is 71 and he's homeschooling his young son.
Good for him.
Yeah. Thank you for taking my call. Good seeing you.
All right, good seeing you too. We're going to let you go here. And apparently, CNN got caught in a little bit of a goof when they were covering Hurricane Dorian. They put up a map showing the storm's progress near Georgia and labeled the state next to it as being Mississippi, which is inaccurate. And that prompted the White House spokesperson to say, you know, you goofed. And CNN said, yeah, we goofed. We fixed it quickly, and now we're admitting it. And maybe you should try admitting it when you do something wrong. This coming from the network that was right at the heart of this whole Russia hoax, and especially coming from a network that created its own ratings with this ridiculous town hall. Okay, we're going to take a break here for station identification. When we come on back, Dave from Crucial Nonsense is going to be joining us. We're going to have a long discussion about what we can do to get away from all this thought control. We'll be right back.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 3. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And joining us on the air right now is Dave from Crucial Nonsense, who has just, he's done a marvelous job developing all this new technology, which allows us to produce this show remotely without having to go through Twitch or Skype or anything else where somebody else has got their hand on the on-off switch. And I wanted Dave to come back on because, first of all, he's working on some very interesting applications for the Raspberry Pi 4. And second, because I wanted to open up the discussion. We can see every day that more and more of our rights as Americans are under attack, whether it's First Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Second Amendment, and we're seeing this very intense effort to control everything that we see and read and hear on the internet the way they've been doing on the corporate media all this time. And we need to develop a strategy to keep a free and open form of communication available for those who want to use it. So Dave, welcome to the show. And first of all, again, thank you for the systems that you built here for RBN. And let's first of all talk about the hardware, the Raspberry Pi 4 and what you're doing with it.
All righty. Welcome to me. Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate that. Good afternoon to you. Yeah, the Raspberry Pi 4, we had mentioned that a couple weeks ago before you did the whole move, because the Raspberry Pi 4 has recently come out, and that's a huge hardware upgrade from the Raspberry Pi 3B Plus even. It has true gigabit, true USB 3, more processor power and more memory. And let me step back just a second. I didn't develop the software we're using. I've worked on it, I've contributed to it, but this is not my software. This is open source stuff that we're using here. I just assembled all the pieces. And I put those pieces on the Raspberry Pi to see if we can't come up with a way to deploy the Raspberry Pi in a whole bunch of different locations. In your studio, in my studio, in RBN studio, in the radio station studio, and all the various bloggers and podcasters that want to be able to do this, to be able to get the Raspberry Pi and install open source software. And we've been a little tight-lipped about that up until now, but the open source base software that we're using is FreeSwitch. And it's a telephony product, but it goes beyond that because we're using high-quality Opus codec, 48 kilohertz audio, which exceeds the quality of Skype. That's why we're sounding a little bit better on the air. And it's an open source, open platform. And a lot of people have been able to contribute to the project. And as a point of fact, we've actually contributed to the project to accommodate some of the stuff that we've been doing here at RBN. And that's not just hosted on the Raspberry Pi. But I've been running on the Raspberry Pi a PBX, FreeSwitch PBX, for the past 3 years, and that's been controlling all my phone systems and all that stuff. We got down that path because my best friend, who is now Silent Key in the amateur radio community, he passed away. Cancer got him. I think it was the doctors, but that's a story for another time.
I had the same thing about my mother, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's a tragedy. I mean, it broke my heart, watching what he had to go through on there. But, we had worked very hard trying to establish a independent communication platform where we could, have high fidelity audio between us, where we could just talk openly and freely and not worry so much about, who was eavesdropping upon us and who was going to try to censor us and keep us from being able to share our information. And as a result of that, we went down the FreeSwitch rabbit hole and got a lot done on that, and was making great progress until he got sick. So, he passed away, and then, fast forward a little bit, the Skype was malfunctioning, and then you went over to Twitch, and then Twitch was being discontinued, and I just happened to have gotten to the point where we had gotten WebRTC to work, where I did a cybersecurity spot with Steve Elkins on Off the Beaten Path here in RBN. And I was like, well, heck, we ought to be able to use this for what really happened. And we really haven't looked back since, because we now have a platform, open source, mind you. We can modify this, but the source code's out here, and it can be deployed on not just the Raspberry Pi, but on any Unix, on any Windows, and on any Mac. It is very multi-platform, so you're not trapped into any one particular piece of hardware or platform, which is a absolutely fantastic thing. So
Yes.
we have also virtual servers, VPSs as they call them out there in the cyberspace, on the cloud, as they call it. The cloud is really just somebody else's computer. But we're able to leverage all of those things. And what FreeSwitch can do is a brilliant thing with the media encryption, because most SIP providers out there will just throw you out there to the wolves, say, okay, here's your audio, here's your link and control channels and all that, and no TLS, no SRTP, no encryption at all, and they don't seem to value that we value our privacy. We do have a provider out there that is servicing us for call-in lines and other things that we're developing for other parts of this project called SignalWire, and they actually get it. They have been very good about the security. By default, all of that encryption and privacy is on. And these are some very forward-thinking people, and it's going to be very interesting to see how that platform continues to grow, because they've got the phone PTSN pretty well licked. We're getting into international numbers, and we got SMS. We can maybe do some SMS, listener comment lists. There's a lot of things that we're looking at being able to do into the future, and being able to do this ourselves through a myriad of different providers. So if one provider decides that we've stepped out of bounds, well, screw you. We're using open standards. We don't need you. We can go here or there or anywhere else, and we can also set these things up where they can talk to each other. And we don't necessarily have to have an open internet for it, because we can use mesh networks. We can use our own things. We got Wi-Fi, being broadcast out, over, the amateur radio has the ability to do a 1500 watt, Wi-Fi access point. So, one way or the other, we're going to find a way to be able to, get our signal out to people and be able to, link them up, which is a really great thing, because all these centralization efforts by these big tech giants and by the governments and these new world order globalist jerks, they want to control absolutely everything. And as you know, Michael, the ARPANET, as it was designed to be very decentralized.
Yes.
Whereas you were saying the other day, they could have nuked a third of it, off the planet, and it would still pretty much just keep right on going. And we can use that technology, the IPv4 and the IPv6 and all those things. And we don't have to use their links, because it's just basically a lease line thing. We can find our own RF links, our own way to do it, and they're going to make it difficult for us. And okay, maybe we'll hide in plain sight. We can disguise our VPN traffic amongst other stuff, and we're going to be very elastic about what we're doing. We're going to keep just being nimble. We're going to stay small and stay nimble and try to stay ahead of them, because we developed all of this technology in the first place, back when the internet was in its infancy, when it was all ARPANET, before it was all public, we were already working on these things. And now that they're using our toys against us, well, we'll just come up with better toys.
Yes, absolutely. And, you're absolutely right. There is a concerted effort right now to reassert control over what we see and read and hear. And when I was a kid, obviously, this stuff was going on, and we were oblivious to it. The American people were charmingly naive and trusting. They believed the government and the media. And it wasn't until Jim Garrison came out with his book on the trial of Clay Shaw that I really began to say, I wonder what's going on. And having the instincts of an archivist, when John F. Kennedy was assassinated, I saved everything, all the magazines, all the newspapers and everything. And so I was able to go back in to look at this photo that was taken looking up toward the school book depository by trying to remember the photographer's name. I can't. It's evading me right now. But it captures the moment when Kennedy grabs his throat, And in the background, at street level in the doorway, is Lee Harvey Oswald. And that was the moment that I realized that what we're being shown on TV and movies and newspapers should not be trusted. And I went through that magazine issue, and I still have that, by the way. And I started seeing all of these things that were different. Like there was the photograph that was supposedly taken from the sniper's nest, and it was very low down. It was actually taken from the Daltex building, and over on the right frame you could see the distinctive brickwork of the Texas School Book Depository. So that was another lie, and it was just right there in the magazine. And so I've been very skeptical of corporate media ever since, and of course that was reinforced during that whole Vince Foster affair. Anyway, David, we're going to take a phone call here. They've been waiting patiently. Steve in West Virginia, aloha, welcome to the show. Do you have a question for David?
No. Oh, I'm sorry. Mike, I didn't realize he was on your show on the third hour. I can call back on Monday.
All right, call back.
I actually had a question. I had a question for you, but I'll wait. I can wait till Monday.
All right, so call back on Monday.
Okay.
So
thank you, Mike.
right.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you. So, David, you've thrown out a lot of technology here, and obviously, if we still have to use the internet, it's only a matter of time before the government will start adding more filters, more detection, more scanners to try and filter out the signals from our little system that we're putting together. So how do we bypass that? I remember the days of FidoNet, and maybe we could use an approach like that. But we're definitely going to have to be encrypted if we're going to conceal the fact that we're out there speaking truth in an age of lies.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And as you pointed out, you did that NSA encryption challenge with an unknown encryption method, and it confounded everybody. And that's all we got to do. The beautiful thing about open source, Michael, is we can take all those really fancy encryption libraries and we can get in there and poke in them just a little bit to make them where they're not compatible with each other anymore, but only with our stuff. And then if they try to brute force that, they're just going to get garbage. And one of the things I plan to do with my excess bandwidth is just send back and forth random data. Let them try to decrypt that. I think they're a few monkeys short of an infinite supply to make any sense of that. Keep them busy. I mean, if they're going to get it, Michael, let's make them really work hard for it. And they're going to get, they got our cookie recipes. Oh, darn it. I mean, it's not like we're trying to, take over the world or do all these evil things that they're doing. They assume because they are into that stuff that we are also, of the same sort of, evil ilk as they are, and they're spying on us all over the place.
Yeah.
Of course, that doesn't solve any of our crime or anything. We haven't seen our society become any safer. TSA doesn't make anybody safer. They don't catch things trying to be smuggled onto airplanes. None of the surveillance does any good at all. These mass shootings still happen. So why are they going in there and doing all this surveillance with this overt purpose of we're going to make you safer? They're not. They haven't made any major victories on that. And believe me,
it's all about
need
control.
The political capital. And if they had managed to start, stopping these crimes, they would be crowing about it from the top of the mountains. Look what we did. See. Now you understand why we're spying on you. We just saved a bunch of lives. But that has yet to happen. And that's a darn shame. So that leaves us using VPNs and other technology to be able to disguise this stuff. And, hey, the technology that we've got, with the networking stuff is really getting pretty interesting, with all the high availability stuff that we've got. And it just takes, people in the industry like myself that get fed up with all this garbage. And we take our skills and we put them to use architecting new systems. I mean, we built this internet in the first place. So why can't we just come up with a brand new method of doing this kind of stuff? I mean, the sky's the limit on that. Our imagination is the only limit. So we need to start imagining better ways of doing this and being able to interoperate with each other. We should be able to make a social networking platform where people can share their videos and their audios and their messages with each other without being able to be censored. The only way they would be able to censor us really because we're being so nimble about it, is they would have to shut the entire internet off. But guess what? Their Achilles heel is the fact they monetize that internet. If they were to
Yes.
shut the internet off completely, the global economy would collapse that instant. It would be done, game over. And without that, they don't have their control anymore. So they aren't going to, they can threaten it all day long, but they can't do it, because if we can't go to Amazon and, order our, flatware, whatever it is we're going to buy today, from them, that's going to be a big, huge, gigantic problem for them. So, hey, we'll use that against them. You wanted to monetize it? Okay, the genie's out of the bottle now. Now you can't shut us up. You can try, but we will circumnavigate around that. We will flee from things like YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. These things, ladies and gentlemen, are only websites. They are not the internet. They have dumbed people down to the point where there's a lot of people out there with this conception that this www thing is the internet. The internet is simply a conglomeration of a lot of computers that are linked together where they can share information on a myriad of ports and services. And we're not taking advantage of that in full at all. We're using a few different things. We got SMTP for mail, and we got the www, for the websites and stuff like that. And heck, FTP has almost gone the way of the dinosaur now. And
yes,
you've seen all this stuff. So we have the ability to, start making new stuff that they don't recognize. Because as you had pointed out with the encryption challenge, if a new protocol comes around, it doesn't even have to be encrypted. They're not going to understand what it is until they can go through and figure out what's going on. See, Skype, back in the day when Skype owned it, before Microsoft bought it, it confounded the NSA and all the spooks because it was all proprietary.
Yes.
It had an algorithm and encryption that they did not understand. So we were actually
it was using other people's computers. The packets were being passed along. There was no one place where they could tap into it and eavesdrop or exert control. And that's why I get very, very nervous every time I see one of these big companies like a Microsoft they'll gobble up these really useful things because it means they're going to be weaponized and turned against us. Now, putting on my little crystal ball, which isn't actually here, I see a couple of things happening down the road. First of all, I almost see a Usenet-like environment as an interface for all of this. But of course, that will be identified and infiltrated the way they tried to shut it down all the way back with the Exxon Amendment. Just flood it with porn and say, this is horrible, it's a danger, we've got to pass a law against it. But at some point, I'm expecting there to be a law against encryption. And we know that they're talking encryption bans all over Europe right now, and right now, of course, it's illegal.
In Australia.
Yeah, that's true. And right now, it's actually illegal to sell encryption outside of the United States without the permission of the NSA. But I'm expecting at some point they're simply going to say, no, you can't encrypt it. If we can't read it, it's a crime.
Yeah, that's what they'll say. And with the Usenet thing, people were able to, forge posts and take that over, the whole porn thing. But now that we've got some more technology, the blockchain, it doesn't necessarily guarantee that you will have privacy, but we can use that for authentication to keep people from spoofing you and being able to get in there and insert things in there. And with the blockchain, once it's there, you can't take it back, because if you were to take that piece out, the entire chain falls apart. So, we start, looking at these new technologies and the new cryptographic, methods that they've got here, and we can take the best of all the worlds. A lot of this stuff is open source, and we can take this code and we can modify it to tailor it to how we need it to be. It's a huge, gigantic undertaking. I can't do this by myself. You can't do it by yourself. But if we get a lot of people together, working in tandem, not even necessarily all together on things will start to emerge and people will start using it. Us hacker types, back in the day before we turned evil, we're all about trying to figure out new ways of being able to do things. And that's what it was about. We'll try this.
Okay, David, we got to take a break for commercials, and we'll come right back to you after these few words.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75% dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat, very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, my heart was pounding, coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. We've got Dave from Crucial Nonsense for one more segment. And we're talking about ways to sort of bring back an open internet to the American people. Now that the government is obviously trying to shut it down and drag us back to the model of computing that existed back in the 1970s. So to me, the weak point is getting a data stream from my house to yours without having to go through the commercial internet, because that's going to be the place where they're going to attack it. Now, if we do packeting peer-to-peer, it's going to make it prohibitively expensive to do the filtering. But that strikes me as the weak point. If we could find another way, another affordable way for people to be able to hook these things together without going through the internet. And maybe that's just going to be Wi-Fi from my apartment to the apartment next door. We could bring back packet radio. That's definitely going to be a good one. But in the end, I foresee the government is hitting the panic button right now on all of this.
Oh, yeah, they are. They're already hitting the panic button because of all the censorship on there. Packet radio hasn't died. I've got a packet node here that we can send and receive email. It's slow, 1200 baud, but we still have communication with that.
Yes.
And there's going to be a lot of things. It's a good thing that you brought this up, because this is the kind of conversation that we really need to have. How do we solve this? And not one idea is going to be just the be all end all. Oh, we figured it out. Eureka. It's going to be a combination of a whole plethora of ideas and methods. We'll see what works. And when they start attacking one, we'll just shift over somewhere else. We'll be nimble enough that we will just keep them so busy chasing us down that they won't know whether to wind their watch or go blind or whatever they say on that. That's the idea anyway.
Yes.
I'm going to give out my email address over the air here, because it's not going to be, spammed, because somebody would actually have to physically type it down. But if you've got some ideas or you got questions about this, want to contribute some work and effort or ideas, thoughts, David@crucialnonsense.com. Send me an email. We'll open up a dialogue, and we'll see what we can do on here. I've already got a lot of people all over this planet that have been collaborating with me on this, and that number just is growing like mad, because everybody is absolutely fed up to death about all of this control that's being exerted on us, and we're getting absolutely nothing in return for it. If they were actually able to start knocking out all this crime and making us safer, at least for a time, people will be a lot more willing to go along with it. So it's probably a good thing that they're just as, blasé, but now we don't need to make you safer. We're going to tell you we're going to make you safer, but we're not going to make you any safer. So now we really do have absolutely no justification for any of the spying and the TSA and all that stuff, because it's done absolutely nothing for us. So we just need to think about it, because we have a little bit of time left, but not a lot. And there are things we can do by using this public internet against them, with VPN networks, mesh networks, and there's a lot of products out there for that. In fact, I'm going to an electronic swap meet this weekend, and I'm going to see what I can't pick up there towards that end. And if there's enough extra stuff there, you may be getting a package in the mail here in a couple of weeks there, Mike.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I'm obviously willing, and I've had some very generous people who are sending new computer equipment and monitors, which again, we're not able to get into our new place until October 1st. But once we're there, I'm going to start putting it all together and, get back to just getting some work done.
Yeah, absolutely. And there will be a Raspberry Pi 4 all configured with this platform, for you to have a sovereign copy of it. They're going to have a sovereign copy of it at RBN. There's going to be various data centers that are going to have it. So when I'm gets attacked, we'll just switch channels. Okay, try again, guys, because we're not going to be silenced. This is too darn important.
Yes.
Our very society, our lives depend on us being able to find a way out of this mess. And if you're relying on all these elected officials to get us there, you're barking up the wrong tree, because those people rather create the problems to justify their existence because they don't know how to solve the problems. So we need to talk about solutions. And I'm glad that you're willing to talk about solutions. There's a lot of hosts out there that aren't. So, bless you for that, Mike, because we really do have our work cut out for us, and we'll keep working together. This won't be the last you hear of me. And this, system with FreeSwitch, bless them. This beautiful product, open source. They are the ones that created this, and they deserve a big, huge tip of the hat for an incredibly, awesomely powerful product. And I just put the pieces together. That's all I did. It's not really all that special. A lot of work went into it, but I wasn't the one that developed it. I just used existing technology in a way that they hadn't really thought to do before, not in mass. So we're going to use that and grow with it. And there's other products that take it even farther. We'll get into that on down the road, because the details of that just really don't matter so much now, but we do need to have this discussion about, how do we get out of this? Anyway, thanks for having me on, Mike. Have a great rest of the show, and we will definitely catch you on Monday. Have a great weekend.
All right. Same to you. Have a really good weekend here, and we're going to take another break for commercials. Join us on the air, 800-313-9443. Back with more news after these few words.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When your doctor tells you you have bad cholesterol or blockages in the arteries, what do? When diet and exercise is not enough, we try medications and hope for the best. For the last 2 decades, I have been telling people about a natural method to help solve these problems and more. Extendovite can help maintain cardiovascular health and lower blood lipid levels in adults. The 7 herbs in Extendovite are known to work together synergistically to get the results we hope for. There are many testimonials on Extendovite's effect on circulatory-related ailments. Get Extendovite today to start your journey back to a healthier life. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or see us on amazon.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Talk Right, the conservative app offered by TalkStream Live that caters exclusively to the conservative talk radio community. Here you'll see only talk shows and podcasts from the conservative right, all the big broadcast names and online digital shows in one place. Talk Right makes it easy to find all your favorite conservative talkers with all the upscale features you come to expect from TalkStream Live. Keep up with the fast-paced political world. Download Talk Right today from Google Play or the App Store.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves
and aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And Tucker Carlson decided to take on Walmart. He had this wonderful quote: after destroying and degrading rural America, Walmart now wants to lecture them about guns. I think Walmart has made a mistake knuckling under the gun grabbers. And I think, again, I suspect what's going on is the liberals have decided this tactic of trying to destroy the businesses of Trump supporters is now being expanded for their entire agenda. Don't support global climate change legislation, we're going to wreck your car rental agency or something like that. And that's terrorism. Because the USA Patriot Act defines as terrorism any violence or threat of violence designed to change somebody's political point of view, which is exactly what the liberals are doing. All right, we have callers on the line. Chris in Ohio, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, aloha, Mike. How you doing?
Hanging in.
Welcome to Indiana.
Thank you.
Next door neighbor. Somehow,
Yes.
I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, when I was very young, I lived in Ohio in a town called New Philadelphia.
I know where that's at.
Yep.
It's out of Canton. They're in Tuscarawas County.
Yep.
Yeah, moving, man. It gets harder the older you get.
This was a killer. This is a killer. And, I mean, my original intent had been, when Trump won the election, I thought we were going to actually have a real change in this country. Conservatives were going to come back in control of the media, and there was going to be a chance for me to come back here to the mainland in a better situation than I'm in. And that just did not happen. And finally,
I hear you.
We made the leap, and it did cost us a lot. But we're here now. The place is growing on me, and we're going out to this local little charity fair tomorrow. And yeah, there's actually a rather large.
Conservatives ever lose control of the media, or I don't even know what that means.
Well, liberals used to complain about the conservative media, and the liberals then targeted the media. But this gentleman that I'm staying with here right now says the reason the liberals are winning is really quite simple. Conservatives have been taught, don't fight back. We're too polite. And that's why these liberal tactics are working.
I can see that. However, I would also posit that the whatever they are that constitutes the quote-unquote media are more chameleon than they are liberal or conservative. Just a thought.
Well, I would say definitely not when you look at how they behaved during the 2016 campaign, and especially after Hillary lost. There wasn't even a pretense of being unbiased or objective.
Correct. Yeah. I'm probably overanalyzing things again in my own mind.
Well, Occam's razor can be a very good friend.
The triple blade?
And the shave cream. With
thing I was going to... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say with Socrates' picture on the can.
For sure. Yeah, taking a big long swig.
Well, that's what Friday nights are for.
For sure. Most definitely. One thing I was going to encourage you is to stick with the Aloha America.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah, who's your daddy stuff? No.
Okay, well, I'm starting to lean that way anyway because we had this caller into the show who says there's a whole bunch of bars that already use that as a name. Yeah. And so
are you familiar with the David Bowie song Heroes?
No, I'm not.
Late 70s era. There's a live version of that song. I don't know what year, late 90s.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. He goes into a little diatribe at the beginning of the song about, he doesn't say who's your daddy, but it's like, who is your daddy? It's like almost, it's not about how obnoxious of a phrase it is. It's not referring to Indiana. Though.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
It does have deep connotations that are really obnoxious. And it just,
I was never a big David Bowie. I was, if my polling system was still working, actually it is working. I'll put up an online poll. I'll do that first part of next week. And, What do you want me to use for the show opening? It gives me the weekend to come up with a couple of other possibilities. Anyway, Chris, thanks an awful lot for the phone call. And yes, it's good to be back here in the Heartland. And we're going to switch over to Mike in Brazil.
Mahalo.
Mahalo, Louis Noah. Mike in Brazil, are you there?
Oh, yes, I am. Welcome back to the States, Mike.
Thank you. What's on your mind?
Okay, no, I called you in response to, you had an earlier caller, that lady from Wisconsin, Murr.
Yeah.
I did call Kelso's show the other night, and everybody is under the impression that the Amazon fires is a natural occurrence. It is not. It's arson. And they caught, last week, they caught 70 people, 70 people, with all of them equipped with maps, strategic maps of various regions where they were supposed to set fires. And every single one of them was part of the Sao Paulo Forum. You know what Sao Paulo Forum is, right? It's an organization of Bolivarian communists, like Evo Morales of Bolivia, Hugo Chavez of Venezuela, Maduro, and the rest of them. They're all communists, but they're not Stalinist communists. They're Bolivarian communists. There's a distinction. It's a fine line, but there is a distinction between the two. And they caught this happened last week, and they caught 70 of them. The indigenous people of the Amazon caught them, and believe it or not, they do have cell phones and they do have signal. Because some of them live in proximity of a city, so they pick up the signal. And they called the army, and they took them into custody, and they confessed that there are at least 1,000 more of them scattered throughout the jungle trying to set fires. And I just got word today that half of those were also apprehended, and they were turned to, remanded to civilian police custody. So they were all paid arsonists to make Bolsonaro look like he's inept, that he's incompetent, he cannot take care of his own country, and that all of that is false. This was the work of the jailed ex-president of Brazil, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, the only ex-president that I know of who is incarcerated. I wish the United States should have led this thing, incarcerating evildoers, including presidents. Mm-hmm. Well, that didn't happen in the States. It happened here in Brazil. He's the only president that I know of who's behind bars. Well, actually, he's not behind bars. He lives in a federal police headquarters in the city of Curitiba, which is in southern Brazil. And basically, his cell is not a cell. It's a large conference room where he has a bed. He's got wine, red wine, lobster, and with all the goodies. Okay, mm-hmm. So the Justice Minister, Sergio Moro, here in Brazil, asked for him to be transferred to a regular penitentiary. And all the communists in the parliament here in Brazil was opposed to that. And Sergio Moro asked, what is so special about Lula that he gets special privileges? This guy stole billions of dollars from the Brazilian people, which is true. He did steal that amount of money. And they found suitcases stuffed with euros, dollars, other foreign currencies, all of them in an apartment that was not even declared to be his. Because what he did, he registered the apartment in the name of one of his sons. And to make a long story short, the guy is not really serving time. Okay, he's not in jail. He's in the headquarters of the federal police in Curitiba. Okay, so right now they're trying to indict him for arson because apparently he was the one giving the orders to set the forest on fire. And they have confidential sources. The federal police has confidential sources which actually point to ex-President Lula, who's apparently serving 12 years time for the crimes he committed. And now they're adding to the charges. This guy may never see the outside world again because here in Brazil, you commit such a crime, you go to jail for good. Okay, they don't have the death penalty, but they do have life imprisonment. So, so just to give you an idea of what these guys have done, not only that they destroyed the environment, I purchased property not very far away from where they set the fires. Thank God it didn't touch the property that I bought last year. I bought it for $2,000. That in the States would be the equivalent of about $500,000 property. Okay, so here is very cheap. It's almost it's a steal. Basically, the government is giving away those lands for people who try to develop it. So I bought a piece of property right in the middle of the Amazon. Okay, I got 3 rivers, a confluence of 3 rivers there. I got fish, I got wild game, you name it. It's all there. Beautiful air, no pollution, no noise, no nothing. So to respond to the other comment she made was that my wife should call. Well, unfortunately, my wife does not speak any English. And for me to start translating, it would take forever. So, she does get mad at me because while your show is on, I don't even talk to her. I completely ignore she exists. And she got really upset about it.
Well, I can understand that.
She says, what is... Yeah, no, I said, listen, my explanation was this. I said, listen, no offense. What you have to tell me right now can wait for 3 hours, okay? And then you can tell me at the end of 3 hours, unless, of course, it's an emergency. But what this guy has to say, I want to get to hear it once. If I lose what he's saying right now, how am I going to get to, I know you have a podcast and all that, but I'm not the kind of person to hunt, to chase the podcast down, on the internet. So I said, let me listen to my show, and then I'll get back to you. Boy, she got upset. I tell you that. She got upset. So that's the reason, that's the reason she's not calling, because first of all, she hates me spending 3 hours listening to your show and that of John Stedmiller and what's his name, Kelso. And, well, by the time the Kelso show, she's already to church, at night for the night services. So she doesn't give me any hard time over that. But she does give me a hard time because she's here in the house right now as I speak to you. So, this is the reason, basically. So, anyway, Mike, that's all I have to say, right? Okay, have a good rest of the show.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to do precisely that here. The phone lines are open again, 800-313-9443. And I guess over in Mission Control in India, they have basically come to the realization that their lander has been lost. They're not able to establish communication with it. Could very easily have tipped over on landing. That's always a risk for landers. In fact, when we were doing Viking back on 1976, the Viking 2 lander came down right next to a rock the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. And had it actually hit that rock, it would have flipped over and would have been lost. Anyway, Hurricane Dorian is now starting to head back on out to sea. They're starting to get rescue helicopters into Okochok Island, I mispronounced that, to get those people out here. And apparently there's this woman in the capital of Nassau, and she owns an animal shelter. And she went out into the storm rescuing dogs. And by the time the hurricane was over, she had almost 100 dogs. So that was a real good thing for her to do here. Okay, the University of South Carolina is apparently ignoring a state law requiring the teaching of the Constitution. Now, call me old-fashioned, call me silly, call me irresponsible. I think the Constitution is something that needs to be taught throughout your education. What it means, what those rights mean, how many people had to basically fight to bring that about. And when you look at how the liberals just want to throw it away, they want to put it in the shredder. They want their socialist utopia, as Margaret Mead promised would happen in Coming of Age in Samoa, which, by the way, is an intellectual fake. Alrighty. Apparently, higher consumption of soft drinks is linked with an increasing risk of mortality. Get this up here. Apparently, there is a center being opened in the United States to study psychedelics. I were younger, I might actually volunteer for that. Okay. Feeding dogs and cats raw food diet rarely causes infections. I know the dog and cat food companies like to say, oh, no, it's got to be cooked. Got to be cooked and seasoned just right. We'll put it in this little tiny can. Very often our pets are being fed better than their owners. And we have a dog here where we're staying, and it's a cool little animal. Anyway, we've got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356 or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN at hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. Women and children alike.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Last segment of our program today on this TGIF Friday here. And apparently, this is an example of what I mean when we've lost our civility. Because apparently, a while back, there were these two guys, Adebisi Okanai and Leopold Hauser, who basically assaulted a man outside a Portland bar for wearing a Make America Great Again hat. And they beat him up pretty good, and the Portland grand jury has now dropped all charges. So this is a very dangerous trend where violence against conservatives is now being condoned legally within the system. It's amazing here. Alrighty. Talked about the dogs here. Talked about South Carolina. DARPA is still working on their anti-meme militia to fight deep fakes and polarizing viral content, meaning anything that is controversial here. In other words, you will only be allowed to see what we will allow you to see. Okay. Higher consumption of soft drinks linked with an increased risk of mortality. Not exactly sure. I mean, mortality is the same for everybody. It's one per customer here. And apparently in New York City, remember there was that big stink a while back where the mayor got upset over a comment that the city was filthy. Well, apparently this resident of New York City has racked up $300,000 in fines for a home covered in garbage. All right, here's an important story here, and it's about Microsoft. And Microsoft has teamed up with the Chinese government to assist in espionage against America. Now, to me, especially given the adversarial relationship that we seem to have with China at this particular time, this to me smacks of treason. But I guess Microsoft's attitude is, hey, a buck is a buck is a buck. And yeah, they're paying. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is complaining that building the border wall is a project driven by Trump's ego. That we don't really need the wall. Illegal immigrants are not a problem. We've mentioned this before in the show. Bernie Sanders announces support for global eugenics and depopulation, calls on accelerating abortions in countries populated by people of color. I don't think that's exactly what he said. I think he said poor people. And anyway, there's the music. Time for me to get on out of here and have a nice, relaxing weekend with family. Please stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. And please take what you learn here, share it with everybody that you know. Please donate to RBN. Please donate to whatreallyhappened.com. We'll be back on Monday. Aloha, America.